Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to call the Chappaqua Library Board of Trustees public meeting to order. It is 7:30 p.m. I'm going to move that we go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second. Before we
Lane?
vote on that, Lane
Yes.
seconded it, and Teresa, you got that?
Hi, Teresa.
I'm writing it
I don't know
down.
if she has volume or not, but okay. And then
Right.
the executive session as it's written is for the purpose, what is the exact wording? Because I think it says for the purpose of
Discussing matters leading to the appointment of a particular person.
right.
No, it says
So
interim director.
Okay,
Not
so
particular person, interim director.
interim director, right? That's what I thought. So I actually.
Oh, I see. Right, my agenda.
Right. So I wrote up a resolution so that we can accept the, like, I wrote one that we can look at together if we want. I can share my screen so we could accept.
Wait, are you not going to vote for executive session?
No, I am,
confused.
but I don't think we can have the executive session without first accepting the resignation of the director. So I was thinking we should have a motion. How do I share my? So I wrote up one that we could accept.
I hear what you're saying.
And then we would be able to, but I'm not sure how to share. Oh, share content.
Well,
only the host. Okay, so I'll just read it and then we can decide if we want to accept it or not, or if we want to revise it at all. So what I wrote was, be it resolved that the Chappaqua CSD Library accepts the resignation of Miss Pamela Thornton for the purpose of retirement. The board has received a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement on June 16th, 2020. The board has appreciated the 13 years of service, 13-year service of Miss Thornton. Miss Thornton's last employment review by the board concluded in the fall of 2019. During the review, Miss Thornton documented several aspects of her service, e.g. completion of parking lot and library construction. So as to appropriately reflect the board's experience and understanding, the board also wishes to note that there was nothing documented in the review citing challenges working with the board. The board maintains that much work has been accomplished and Miss Thornton has fulfilled her role as library director. Miss Thornton's resignation is hereby accepted in anticipation of her last day being August 4th, 2020. So that would be my resolution if someone wanted to make a motion to accept it.
No, so we can't make a motion to accept it because there's a motion already on the table to go into executive session. The resolution is in our agenda later on.
Well,
and
excuse me,
right. The meeting was called to order at 7:30.
I'm sorry.
I moved to go into executive session. Lane seconded it. And now we're open. Liz requested discussion. My understanding is she thinks we can't discuss a candidate for interim director, which because we have not had a resolution to accept the resignation of Pam Thornton, the director. However, interim director is different position than director. So if you want to play semantics, we can. And I don't think that's not what any resolution would say. I would never agree to that resolution. The resolution is going to say, we accept the library director resignation for the purpose of retirement, just as it's written in our agenda.
I think,
well,
Liz, go ahead, Liz.
So, I mean, I do appreciate you want to discuss this.
I did the research and I looked into the appropriate places of how you write a resolution. And
no, it's just the wrong time. Liz, I appreciate that. It is the wrong time to propose a resolution. Well, you can't propose a resolution in the middle of a motion that's on the table.
Okay. Well, Liz,
so should we table the motion that was on the table so that we can deal with the resolution?
No, why should we?
Well,
Well-
because process-wise,
Right.
it would be cleaner for our board to accept the
Right.
resignation before we go into an executive session to discuss an interim director.
But we're not hiring an interim director. If we were going to hire one tonight, I would agree with you. We are not hiring one tonight. I would be shocked if we proposed an offer tonight. We can discuss it all we want.
But I
So
think
that's mixed up.
it would be a little weird to talk about an interim director to replace the director when the director's resignation hasn't been accepted, in my opinion.
Okay, so maybe we're a little bit wrong, but I still don't think it's appropriate to use now what we told the public was going to be a half an hour, and we've already used up 6 minutes on this.
Perhaps,
I think,
can I just say one thing? Perhaps for future reference, instead of being as specific as saying interim director, you could have just said to discuss the employment of a particular person, and then that wouldn't have.
right.
Right, and I agree with that, Ronnie. And the interim director language was actually not my intention. That I did not expect to see in the agenda. So in my email, I was trying to explain to people why we were doing it, but I did not ask to have that in the agenda. And when it was done, I thought, all right, I'll just leave it instead of going back and forth, because we were back and forth a lot on tonight's agenda because it's so complex.
Okay.
And so that's my fault for trying to be nice and not demanding another version of this that didn't say interim director. I agree with you.
Who wrote that version? Because
No, that was a sentence I had in my email.
oh, okay.
I never expected that to appear on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you wrote the
Right.
agenda. Okay.
Who wrote the agenda?
Right.
So let's go to executive session.
Yeah. So
and
let's vote.
move it,
We have
'cause
to vote. Can I have a
we can move
vote?
it.
Can I have a vote to go into executive session? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I-
Liz, you're opposed?
No, I'm in favor.
Right.
Okay.
We're all in
So we're
favor.
unanimous?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, we will see you, public, at 8 o'clock.
All right, and I'm gonna start meeting.
So I just click out of this.
Recording. I started the recording again.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thanks, Pam. So we're back in public session.
Mhm.
I am just going to give our scribe the numbers, the times for, so we called the executive session to order at 7:40. I think you have that I originally moved to go into executive session and Lane seconded it, and it was unanimous. Then
Okay.
I moved to adjourn and Liz seconded it. We voted, it was unanimous, and that was at 8:03 p.m. We did pretty good about getting back into our second Zoom meeting.
Good.
Congratulations, everyone. All righty. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're going to go through our normal agenda now. Okay, so the minutes. Are there any comments or changes to the minutes as written? No? Okay, we will accept the minutes as written. Thank you. Nishat, I want to welcome you formally.
Thank you, everyone.
So thank you. We are all so thrilled that you've joined the board and we're excited to work with you. And we're very happy. I know you're jumping in at a difficult time between COVID and administrative transitions, we'll call them. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Like Janet Himmel before you.
All right. Next on our agenda, mostly for Nishat's benefit because she's new, but also because it helps to remind all of us what our roles and responsibilities are as trustees and how they relate to the duties of a director and assistant director and staff. I'm going to review a bunch of these roles and responsibilities. Most of them come from our handbook for library trustees that you all have a copy of and that you can also access online. So I'm going to quote from our handbook. The board has an obligation to support the director wholeheartedly within the context of the employment relationship. The day-to-day management of the library, including management of staff, is the library director's responsibility. The director is the only employee overseen by the board. The director is responsible for the management and supervision of all library employees. Trustees have a responsibility to know staff at a friendly but professional distance, to be cordial and supportive, and to promote goodwill. But they must approach staff relationships with a degree of caution. It is critical for the board to establish and maintain clear lines of communication with the director. In general, the board's directions and intentions are communicated to the director through the president of the board or through official actions at a board meeting. Individual trustees should refrain from issuing specific instructions to the director at board meetings and especially between meetings. Such individual directions are inconsistent with the concept of collective board authority, and a library director risks being caught between conflicting intentions, even among well-meaning trustees. Usurping the administrative prerogatives of the library director can only undermine that person's position and authority and ultimately lead to misunderstanding and conflict. Individual trustees must never address staff complaints and grievances. Rather, they should refer the staff to the appropriate policy. Board policies, including a whistleblower policy, as required by law, should clearly indicate the process for staff complaints and grievances. And the board should never get involved in such activities outside of this process. If and when a grievance reaches the board level, it is usually the responsibility of the director to communicate the board's decision back to the staff. Only in those cases where grievances involve the director should the board communicate directly with the staff. Now, everything I just read is from our handbook of library trustees, our little Bible, and I just wanted to reiterate and point out the important passages to Nishat. The most effective boards concentrate their time and energy on a few issues that will have a major impact on the library's future. Activities that can be completed by individual trustees outside the meeting, such as reading the minutes, should not take up valuable time at a board meeting. Key concepts include focusing the board's attention only on issues that really matter, use the board's time and structure to pursue those issues, be certain that the board has the information it needs at the right time, ensure that the board works as an effective corporate unit. I think maybe in your packet, Nishat, you may have also gotten a copy of the Public Library Trustee Ethics Statement. Did she, Pam? I can't remember when.
Yes, she did, and she actually did and filled it out and signed it. Absolutely.
Okay. So it's good for all of us to review that because we all filled it out and signed it when we joined. And sometimes we go back and look at it, but usually when we're in the midst of board business, that's not something we just pull out for fun reading. So don't worry, I'm going to read it now. So this is from the Public Library Trustee Ethics Statement, and it's the official statement from the United for Libraries. Trustees shall respect the opinions of their colleagues and not be critical or disrespectful when they disagree or oppose a viewpoint different than their own. I'm going to jump around here if you don't mind instead of reading the whole thing. Trustees must distinguish clearly in their actions and statements between their personal philosophies and attitudes and those of the library, acknowledging and supporting the formal position of the board, even if they disagree. trustees shall not interfere with the management responsibilities of the director or the supervision of library staff. Now, we all signed that, and I just want everybody to remember it, because now that we're going to be hopefully bringing in a new director and hopefully an interim director, we have to break some of the bad habits that have been started, and we've got to dial it back. And both the trustees and the staff have to respect these rules. And we can't usurp the powers of the incoming director and of the interim director. We're here to advise and support, but we have to let them lead, because that's the only way it's going to work. So any comments or questions?
I'm not sure if you're referring to anything specific. I'm not aware of anything specific.
Okay.
No, but Pam, I think it's a great reminder, and I think it's a great way to kick off the fiscal year.
Thank you. All right, so then if there are no more comments or questions, the next on our agenda is our roster.
Right, everybody got a list, and it's also in your packet. How you want it to be communicated with, if the public or anybody else needs to communicate with you. And if there are any changes, let me know.
Right, so we don't need to vote on that or anything. We've already gone over it, right, Pam?
Right, it's just organizational kind of information. So yes, it's just
Okay.
organization.
And can I ask a question? Will this be updated on the website, Pam?
Mm-hmm.
Because I still see my old phone number on the website, so.
Oh, okay, we'll
Yeah,
have that done.
Yeah, I think we had to at least publicly acknowledge the new one, and then it'll be on the website hopefully tomorrow, Ronnie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Annual schedule. Did
That's
everybody have a
also-
chance to look it over?
Yep.
Mhm.
The
Are there
only
any
thing
problems?
I'm not sure about is whether or not there will be a community day. I didn't know, so I doubt it this year, but.
Right. Yeah, because that's usually in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everybody's fine with those meeting dates and everything. Okay. All right, so then next we go on to start our engagement letters. Now, you have resolution language, Pam, right? Or do we just make a motion for a resolution?
You would make a
Engagements.
motion to accept, or actually to have the director sign a contract to accept these engagement letters.
Okay,
Right, because the director
Pam?
and myself signs, yes.
Pam and Pam, I actually have last year's motion in front of me. You want me to just essentially
yeah, go ahead.
I pulled
Thanks.
last year's board minutes. So motion to accept the engagement letter for the services of Lynn Weinig, Windles, Mark Slane, and Mr. Roth, LLP as attorney for the 2020-21 fiscal year at a rate of $3.75 an hour. Authorize the director's agreement.
Do I have a
And
second?
just
Oh, go ahead.
Just
Sorry,
to
Lynn.
note, the engagement letter this year is for $3.75 and last year was for $3.50.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, I second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, it's unanimous, Teresa.
Thank you. What was the amount? That voice-
375 per hour.
Okay. Thank you.
Lane, you want to do the engagement letter for the audit firm of PFK O'Connor Davies?
I motion to accept the engagement letter from PFK O'Connor Davies to perform the fiscal year 2019-2020 library audit for this year. They're asking, I think, was it 12,000? Yeah, for 12,000. And just to note, last year it was 11,800.
And I
Thank
will
you.
second your motion.
Thanks. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to ask, it's the same type of audit that we had last year? It's,
Yes.
because we had, I know when we spoke to the auditors, because since last year's audit, we've now are working on a claims audit policy that could be audited, but that would be, it's not within the scope of what we did last year. So
This is the RSI audit, Ronnie. This is the whole thing for,
right. It's the same thing that we had last year, but they said
I
that,
think it's more involved this year, right, Pam Thornton? I think
Well, it's the government
more
version
involved.
instead of the
It's the
nonprofit.
GASB. Yeah.
It's not the GASB, it's the government
No.
version. They
Oh,
use
oh,
the
right.
GASB, and the GASB's based is incorporated into this. But last year, because we were now deemed to be a government by our auditor, they're doing a government audit, which is more entailed.
okay, so maybe that because last year they had said if we wanted them to audit our internal controls more, like the claims audit policy that we put in effect since last fall when I brought that issue up, that that would be a separate audit. But let's see how this one goes this year, and we may not need to, because I think that's something, since we have instituted this new claims audit procedure, that it would be good to have them check to make sure it's functioning. So
I would think that would be part of an overall audit, is to make sure that you're working those
No.
internal.
It wasn't
They-
last year. It
Okay.
wasn't last year, because I had met with them when I discovered that we weren't in compliance with that state law, that, and they said, no, that's not in the scope. And they said that would be separate, but they were auditing us in a different way. So maybe now that it's a government one. So let's wait and see. And then, we can
This-
decide.
Justice needed.
This will actually be
Okay.
the second government version. Last year was the first. This will be the second, but I think for consistency, you want to have 2 years, because last year it was hard to compare to the prior year because we didn't have any baseline. If we
Right.
want to add incremental, we maybe want to look at budgeting for it when we do our budgeting, and then for the following year, institute that.
Okay.
All right.
If I-
Any other discussion?
If I could jump in.
Yes.
Yeah, as far as the internal control goes, the general audit will encompass a testing of the internal controls. It's not a full audit. It's not like they're going to look at everything from
But
an
there is a testing of
internal
it. That
control
would be part of the
standpoint. So
audit procedure. Right?
But for all
I-
these years, they never noticed that we didn't have a claims audit procedure that we should have had. So
Because they're not looking for that. That's not
Right,
part of the
that wasn't-
scope. So we would have to separately ask them
exactly.
to
That's
define the scope. So
Right.
when they come in, we can certainly ask them, what would it cost? What would that look like? And see what they say.
right. Well, I did ask them last year and they told us what it would cost. But this year, since it hasn't been a full cycle of using the process, I didn't feel the need to ask.
All right. Well, just,
Maybe next year.
make note of it, and we'll follow up with them.
It's noted.
Right.
I've made a note of it.
Okay. All right. So, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It looks unanimous, Teresa. The next is our engagement letter for accountant Joe Gallo. Hi, Joe.
So I motion to accept the engagement letter for accountant services from Joseph Gallo for the 2020-2021 fiscal year in the amount of $30,000, and authorize the library director to sign the engagement letter.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you, Lane, for giving us language. Okay, so now we're going to move to appointments. So we have to appoint Richard Court again. Thanks, Dick, for sticking with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I motion to appoint Richard Court as board treasurer for the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
I second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous, Teresa. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you.
All
Will
right.
Thank you.
include the salary for that, for him?
30,000.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Dick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Dick
going
is
Joe.
pro
No,
bono.
Dick is pro bono. Sorry.
Okay.
Would you like 30,000, Dick? No.
Yes, that would be great as a matter of fact.
I'd like it. All right. So now we have the depositories. So Pam, you have language on that. I mean, like we have the signatories. And I think we should combine the resolution for the depositories and the authorized signatories kind of as you have written it, Pam.
Uh-huh.
But I've seen
yeah.
the search committee is stuck in the center of that, but right.
Oh. Basically, we have two banks that we do business with, which are basically the Westchester Bank and People's United. People's United, we just have our money market account there, and Westchester, we actually have the checking account and another money market there. So what we have to do every year is reaffirm that we want to use those two institutions as our depositories, and then authorize individuals to be signatories and remove those who are leaving. Right.
So do you read that language out loud?
Yep.
I know. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Whereas the Chappaqua CSD Public Library Board of Trustees have fiduciary responsibility for all library funds. Whereas the library has chosen the Westchester Bank and People's United Bank to provide banking services. Be it resolved that the Chappaqua CSD Public Library Board of Trustees has approved the following. The Westchester Bank checking and money market account, remove Pamela Thornton and Margaret Maggie Christ as signatory effective August 3rd, 2020. Add authorized signatory Nishat Hadari effective August 3rd, 2020. People's United Bank money market account, remove the following individuals as signatories effective August 3rd, 2020. Pamela Thornton, Margaret Maggie Christ, Ellen Adnapose, Jerry Golub, Erica Gottesman, Eleanor Friedman. Add authorized signatories effective August 3rd, 2020, Ronnie Diamondstein, Elizabeth Hameson, Lane Shea, Nishat Hadari.
Can you actually, sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, I didn't realize there was more to it. Go ahead.
No, that's the resolution. Yep.
Okay. Can you actually remove someone who's deceased, or should we scratch his name out of the list?
You can remove someone who's deceased.
Okay. So then I would make a motion as read by Pam Thornton to authorize the signatories.
I'll second.
And within that resolution is also the depositories, right?
Yes.
So
Right,
it's
and
a
the
little, just a little broader.
Right.
But, right. Okay.
We're still working.
Yeah. All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Teresa, that resolution is accepted unanimously.
Yes. Wonderful.
Okay. So next on our agenda, we aired last month. We didn't realize we were supposed to immediately have a resolution to accept.
Oh, Pam, wait, there's a search committee under the headings. There's a search committee.
Oh, sorry,
Appointment.
Okay, because I scratched that out. Okay, that's me.
So it's out of order again, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the search committee was supposed to, well, the way the resolution was written was it combined the signatories and the depositories, and we didn't see that till after the agenda was written. So, but it made sense to combine them instead of having them separate. So.
No, I wasn't commenting on that. I was commenting on the order, the sequence that we're going in. Because we're again talking about the search committee before we accept our resolution too. So I can read the resolution again.
I see what you're saying. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So we're back to the resolution.
Okay.
So the resolution that I'm proposing is, be it resolved that the Chappaqua CSD Library accepts the resignation of Pamela Thornton for the purpose of retirement. The board has received a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement on June 16th, 2020 The board has appreciated the 13 years of service of Ms. Thornton. Ms. Thornton's last employment review by the board concluded in the fall of 2019. During the review, Ms. Thornton documented several aspects of her service, e.g. completion of parking lot and library construction, so as to appropriately reflect the board's experiences and understanding. The board also wishes to note that there was nothing documented in the review citing challenges working with the board. The board maintains that much work has been accomplished and Ms. Thornton has fulfilled her role as library director. Ms. Thornton's resignation is hereby accepted in anticipation of her last day being August 4th, 2020. So that's a proposed resolution that we could choose to amend, accept, however you guys want to proceed.
So I propose we amend it to say that we accept the library director's resignation for the purpose of retirement effective August 4th, period.
In order to amend it, you have to have had the motion made.
No, there was no motion on the table. We're just having discussion. Liz didn't make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we accept the library director's resignation, that we accept library director Pamela Thornton's resignation for the purpose of retirement effective August 4th, 2020. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Okay, Nishat seconds. Discussion.
Lane second.
Oh, Lane seconded. Okay. All right,
So-
now open for discussion. That's the motion on the table.
Sure. So it's a fine motion. It doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't adequately address the tone of the resignation letter that was submitted. I think it a little bit, it leaves the library board a little exposed, considering that we did have a 360 review and we were, Pam, right, you and I worked on that review very hard. We put a lot of time in and we had a lot of input from staff, from board members, and nothing came up during that review. So I feel like it's a little disingenuous to accept the resignation and have that letter be part of the public record and not explain to the public that the board was unaware certainly in any formal channels of any problems.
I agree with Liz. As far as we knew, the board, there was no idea that there was never anything that claimed that there was any contentious relationship with the board. So I think that adding that language really would be a true reflection of what has transpired. And I agree that considering the tone and tenor of the resignation letter, that this is an appropriate response from our board.
Any other comments? All right, so I disagree because two reasons. One, I don't really believe that's where we should be putting all this language within a simple resolution to accept her resignation for purpose of retirement. And the director's evaluation wasn't an evaluation of the board. There was, we had one question on there, and I think she said she makes herself available to the board. That was, so that made sense. But what doesn't make sense is that now we're talking about the board as a whole, when clearly we all know that that letter was not directed at the board as a whole, and it was directed at one person on the board. And so I am not ready to make some type of resolution that says some kind of description that explains to the public, incorrectly in my opinion, that there's a problem with the outgoing director and the entire board, because that's not true.
Well, the letter actually said several board members, Pam. It didn't just say one board member. So since it was written that way, it clearly was an indictment of the whole board, because she said several. So you can't say it was just at one person.
It doesn't really matter. I think my point was more that if there was genuinely a problem that it would have been appropriate to address it as part of the review, and because it didn't come up there, I felt that we should have language in part of the accepting, just because there are civil service ramifications to how you exit your job. And I feel like it's our job, our fiduciary responsibility, to make sure that we're very clear in portraying exactly how we're managing things and what is the end state. Whether if everybody's comfortable, if everybody else, is comfortable without portraying it in what I feel is a more accurate and genuine way, and letting, the public potentially and the civil service people potentially think that there's a problem where there isn't, certainly not at an official capacity. I don't know about, whether this, I have no idea. I'm not going to go into why this letter was written this way. I certainly wouldn't have written it that way, but that notwithstanding, I thought I did a nice job of making a good resolution. You can agree or disagree.
And protecting the board, Liz. So I think you were on point there. So I have to agree with Liz on this.
Okay, I just don't think it's an accurate depiction. So are there any other comments? So
I merely wish Pam Thornton the best of luck in her future endeavors and hope that she enjoys retirement. And, I think keeping things to the point is of value.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I know I'm the newest member on the board. This is my first board meeting, but I think the board should just graciously accept the resignation of Pam Thornton.
okay, so Teresa, what's the motion on the table? Right? I think the motion is
Yep.
to
It's the
accept.
one that you,
Right. So to accept Library Director Pamela Thornton's resignation for the purpose of retirement effective August 4th. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay. So we agree that's the one on the table.
Yes.
So now we had discussion. I'm going to call for a vote. So
well, someone
all in
needs to
favor?
second. Someone needs to second your
I
motion.
second it.
So I'll second
No,
it.
it was already
Oh,
seconded. That's how we
okay,
got to
sorry.
discussion. That's okay.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So
Yeah,
Lane
so-
seconded it, Teresa.
Lane seconded, yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Yeah, we had that. Right.
Sorry.
So, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So are we unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, we're unanimous, Teresa. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody. Next on our agenda is Interim Director, and I asked to have that on the agenda just so I could advise the public and the library staff that the board is looking for an interim director. We have a candidate we'd like to go ahead and interview, and we're excited, but we're just going to keep you posted. And we've heard that, Pam has big shoes to fill, and this would be somebody to come in, step in for 3 months to help us through the transition. Okay, next on the agenda is the Long Range Strategic Plan 2021 to 2025.
Do we want to do,
Yes, Lane?
do you want to do the search committee?
Oh,
You
thanks.
need to
Yes.
appoint the
Oh my
search
God.
committee?
Right. Yes. Thanks. Okay. So now that we've made a resolution, accepted the library director's resignation for purpose of retirement, now, Liz, you're right. I can go ahead and appoint the search committee. Thank you. So I am happy to tell everybody that there was a lot of input into the search committee from different people in the community. And as president of the board, I'm appointing Erica Gottesman, a past library board president, as the chair of the search committee. Members of the committee include Dr. Christine Ackerman, our school district superintendent, Angela Bronner-Helm. I'll get you the names for the spelling, Teresa. She is part of the new Newcastle Council on Race and Equity. Marge Perlin, Head of Circulation at the library. Andrew Rothline, Community Member at Large. Lane Shea, representing the Library Board. And Catherine Weimark, the President of the Friends of the Library. So that's the search committee. They're starting their work, and we look forward to hearing from them. They'll be searching for a new director following the civil service rules and the rule of 3. So we have to get them some information that they need, but we can talk about that later.
I have,
Yes,
are you making
yes.
a motion for this? Because I have something to say about this. And
You can talk, you can say something, but there's no motion. I'm appointing this committee.
Okay, then I want to.
Excuse me 1 second.
Wait,
Ron,
yes.
can you just speak up a little bit? For some reason, yours is a little bit muted.
That's strange. I'll make sure that my volume's on. Am I
So-
better now?
Ronnie, before you speak, I'd like as the person on the search committee, the one thing, and there's been some back and forth in regards to a salary range for the director. Pam, is this the right time to discuss that?
We can, because I don't know when the right time is, so I guess
So
now's a good time.
I
So
wanted
the
to say something.
committee,
You now have interrupted me, Lane, to talk about the salary. I want to talk about the committee and the process here.
okay, the committee needs specific information, but I want to make sure we don't forget this
Okay,
evening.
all right, we'll do this. We'll talk about the salary range after Ronnie has a comment.
Okay, and can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't really engaged in process. While I can appreciate that the board president wanted to move the process quickly for a new director, there is a critical step that is every trustee's fiduciary responsibility that we have not done. And I'll quote from on process-wise from the American Library Association, quote, "When the board first learns the director is leaving, a brainstorming session to decide how to proceed should be scheduled. This is an opportunity to move the library forward and possibly make significant changes in the way the library operates. The board should be prepared to spend a good amount of time evaluating their situation," unquote. That comes from the American Library Association, a library board's practical guide to finding the right library director, page 6. Further, in the handbook for library trustees of New York State, it states, quote, "The most important responsibility of a library board of trustees is to select a qualified library director who can work effectively with the board and professionally manage the institution and reflects the ideals of the institution and community it serves. All libraries are required to comply with the Education Department Regulation 8 New York CRR, subsection 90.8, governing the minimum qualifications for library director. Public libraries must also conform to the civil service rules for the employment and jurisdiction of New York State. When embarking on the process, it is appropriate for the library board to ask themselves a number of critical questions about the library board, and the type of leadership they require. Each of these should be considered in light of the library's mission, long-range and strategic plan documents, and recent assessment of community. And that's from the handbook and page 45. We have not done this. We have not had a brainstorming session, and we have not met to discuss this as a full board. I respectfully request that the board postpones the appointment of a search committee until the board has done due diligence and we have had a work session to determine the selection process of the director and the parameters of the committee.
So ultimately, Ronnie, we're civil service, and we get to choose off the civil service list.
That's correct, but we still have to go through process. We did not talk about, as a board, what we want to see as a director.
Right,
So-
and I'm sorry.
I mean, getting to
Wait.
who's on.
Let me speak first, Liz. I just want to address what you said, Ronnie. appointing the search committee doesn't negate anything that you just said. I agree with that too. We're using the search committee as our, eyes and ears in the community. They're going to do the legwork, but they're not going to keep us out of this. They're going to be coming and asking us questions. Lane is our representative on this committee. So I don't see these two things, this being mutually exclusive at all.
Well, it's a matter of process and engaging in process. And the full board did not have total input into who was on the committee. And it's no, we can.
That's correct. But that the committee's appointed. I agree. The full board did not.
The full board did not.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't have any input into who's on that committee.
I agree, but okay. All right, so are the two of you, or Ronnie, are you saying that you think Erica Gottesman, Christine Ackerman, Angela Bronner-Helm, Marge Perlin, Andrew Rothline, Lane Shea, and Catherine Weimark will not make a good decision on our behalf?
I'm saying that we needed
Yes or no? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to answer that question, Pam. I'm not going to answer that question. If we had done this the right way and followed process and done it the right way, we wouldn't even have to have this discussion now. But
the process is throughout the search committee, is when the search committee is working. There will be process. We will be involved during the search. So I don't really see the difference.
You've usurped the beginning of the process, Pam, right? And
she has
made decisions on behalf
That's
of the
my
board.
authority. I am the president.
But I think it bears to say that I personally had no input in this to this point, and I think that's important that the public realize that of the board members, when I came on this board, Janet Himmel, who came on the board to pick a director many years ago, she said to me, "Oh, you'll probably be part of picking the new director." And I said, well, maybe it really depends on the timing of, if there's a retirement or not. And we have a lot of senior employees who have retired or are retiring or considering it. And there's a lot of change. And it was a surprise to me personally that the beginning of this process was done in a vacuum without the full board having a work session. I had anticipated that a big announcement like that would start with a work session of our board. I'm not saying that you aren't fully capable or that I don't trust the decisions you've made, but I do want to go on the record and say that process-wise, if I was sitting in your shoes, the first thing I would have done is engage my full board in the conversation to get to that committee. Perhaps we would have decided we all want to sit on it, or we would have decided it exactly the way you've done it. I'm not making a judgment call on where you landed. I'm just simply stating that as far as being the board president, you've disappointed me in the way you've handled this beginning of this process.
And I just add something. We are all, you may be the president and you have certain responsibilities, and I totally respect that. However, we all are equal members of this board. We all have something to bring to this board, and we all can enrich the process. And you left us out. You left us out.
Ronnie, per our bylaws, the president appoints the committee, and I had to leave you out. I didn't want to, but I had to. So, I don't really want to get into the details. I really don't want to discuss this anymore, but I could not engage the whole board. I wish I could have, but I couldn't.
Well, yes. What do you mean you couldn't engage the whole board? We're all equal members of this board.
Ronnie,
by this community, Pam. We all were duly elected, and we have a fiduciary and oversight responsibilities, and we're all equal members. And that's
we are all equal members, but I am sorry to tell you that there are a lot of people who won't work with you. And my duty is to the library and to the taxpayers and to the community. And I had to do what I did, which was very uncomfortable because of situations that you have created. And I'm sorry that we have to discuss this, but that's the truth. There are people who refuse to work with you and who refuse to have you involved in selecting the new director. I'm sorry to have to say that in front of everyone.
You know
but
what?
If you're accused, sadly, that's the truth.
Well, whoever these people are, they're not members of this board. And I find this totally shocking because since I've been on this board, all I have done is work to reflect the duties and due diligence with financial oversight of this board, of the director and finances of this library. So that's a really outrageous thing for you to say, because I am an equal member of this board. I've worked very hard. I'm just stunned by this. I'm absolutely stunned that you would make such a statement. I absolutely am, Pam.
Okay, I'm just repeating what I've been told, so.
Well,
All right, so can we move on to the salary range because of the new incoming director? Because as I sent everybody that copy of the certification request form, civil service needs the salary range to generate the list. We cannot say, salary based on experience, commensurate with experience. I sent the form. It has to be a range.
It has to be a number, it has to be a range. The recommendation from somebody who deals with civil service substantially was that about a $20,000 range is what you generally put out.
So we had discussions, and rightly so, we shouldn't have been having all those discussions via email, but it would have been better if there was time for a work session, but there was no time. So one of the discussions we came up with was 110 to 135,000, but that's not 20,000 range, is it?
No.
Like I said, it can be a range. It doesn't have to be 20,000, but the anticipation would be be about $20,000 range is what was recommended.
Okay. So does anybody have an opinion? Should we close to make it 20,000? Should we stick with what we were talking about? Because we don't know the candidates yet, and with a wider range, then we have more freedom.
I think the last recommendation I remember seeing was from the shot, and I don't remember what it was, but I thought it was fairly even-minded.
I think I had said, and I'm looking at it right now, the range of 110,000 to 135,000.
All right. So do I have a motion on the table for that range?
Why don't we go with 115 to 135 so that we get to that 20 grand range? Can we,
Okay.
are you,
Do you want to make a motion to that effect, Liz?
I'll let someone else.
I'll move that we make the salary range, what did you say, 120 to 135? Liz, was that it? I never was
115 to 135.
115.
Well,
I'll move that we make the salary 115 to 135.
we were trying to close it to what is
to 20,000.
125 is 20.
It was 35 minus 20 would be 15. So 115 to 115 to 135.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So Teresa, it's unanimous.
Who seconded?
I did.
Liz.
Thank you. I thought so. Thank you.
Okay, Elaine, so you could take that back to the search committee.
Thank you.
All right, so now where are we? Long range strategic plan, right? Is that next on our agenda? I think that, I don't remember, tell you the truth, it was the last meeting or the meeting before. We tossed out the idea of getting the long range strategic plan committee up and running sooner rather than later, just because of all the problems in the world, and that we thought maybe that this strategic planning committee had a lot to do. I mean, it's always an important job to survey the public and see what the community needs for the library. And I know always a lot of work goes into this. But I think with the complexities of COVID-19 and everything else going on, it's a little more complex this time. So as president, I'm going to appoint Nishat Hidari, our newest board member, to chair the Long Range Planning Committee because she'll be here longer than any of us. And she can form the committee, and I'm sure she'll ask us for input, but form the committee and start coming up with a basic plan with the committee to start seeing what the public wants for our long-term plan. So Nishat Hidari is going to be the new chair of the Long Range Strategic Plan for 2021-2025. Thanks, Nishat, for accepting that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we're going to move on to finance. We have Dick Court's Treasurer's Report. Thank you very much, Dick. Everybody saw Dick's report? Yes?
Yep.
So let's look at our June 2020 statement. Are there any comments or questions on the June 2020 statement?
Just so you know, this is
Are you making a
preliminary.
motion?
Right, I just want to say this is preliminary statement because we still have bills coming in for the fiscal year.
Okay,
Are you
all right.
about
So
the-
then do I have a motion to approve the preliminary June 2020 statement? I can't hear anything. I don't know if it's because everyone's quiet or because I can't hear anything.
Ronnie, did you motion?
No, I think I see a typo on that. Should I tell Joe later?
Yeah, we could deal with typos later. Just email Joe if there's a typo.
Yeah, because there's a number off that's. I think
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the preliminary June 2020 statement?
that. I'll move we approve the preliminary statement.
Thank you, Ronnie. Second? I need somebody to second the motion to approve the preliminary June 2020
I'll
statement.
second the motion to approve, but I did have a question then.
Okay, so now we'll discuss. What are your questions?
At what point do we then make a motion to transfer the $260,000 over to the capital fund? Are we waiting next month to do that until the financials are final?
Yeah, because you have a final figure at that point.
Right, okay. And I guess, I don't know if it's just a comment, but this just as a point of reference, this is the second year in a row that we've had over, actually almost to the dot, $260,000 in excess funds.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Lane. Okay, so now we need to take a vote. All in favor of approving the preliminary June 2020 statement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks unanimous, Teresa.
Okay, thank you.
Let's review the capital fund and what is this preliminary June report? Are there any questions or comments? No? Okay, so let's move on to the final June bills. Can I get a motion on the table to approve the final June bills?
A motion to approve the final June bills.
Thanks. Second? Anyone going to second that? Okay, I'll second it. Discussion? Does anybody have questions? You had some stuff, right, Liz?
So yeah, and I don't know, Pam, did Martha talk to you about what I discussed with her when I went in today?
Nope.
Okay, all right, I'm
I
sorry
wasn't
about
there
that.
either. Sorry, I wasn't there. So I
Yeah.
have no idea what bills you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I'll go through it right now. I'm sorry. I actually went in a couple times before I actually managed to connect with those bills. So I looked through everything for an hour and 40 minutes today. It was quite a big, quite a lot of bills to go through. Thank you to Jerry and yourself for putting that all together and making sure that we're paying our bills. And then what I discussed with Martha, and again, any other day, I probably would have sent you an email, but today happened to be a busier day, and I really didn't think I was going to be there for an hour and 40 minutes, and then I ran out of time to get back to you. But I had hoped that Martha would convey the 3 outstanding, so I'll just go through them quickly. Arco Cleaning and Maintenance Company, I think we should hold that one out, just unless Pam, I don't want to put you on the spot, so we can hold it out and we can have a separate session to approve these 3 later or get to them next month. But basically they changed the rate for some of the cleaning that they were doing, and the rate doubled, and I'm not sure if that's because it was a Saturday and it wasn't, or I'm not sure what contributed to the rate change.
Or was it COVID related cleaning? I don't know. I'd have to look at that though.
Yeah, right. So it was 2 invoices, and on one, the same item cost half as much as on the other at the base rate. We had that service done several times in both invoices. So that was the one. So that would be a holdout for Arco Cleaning and Maintenance, 2 Cottage Place, Mount Kisco, New York. The other one was Mount Kisco Contracting. They had invoiced us twice, and I had some questions about the work they had performed versus what they had invoiced, which I think we should take offline. And again, just hold that out temporarily. That one was for Mount Kisco Contracting, PO Box 250, Mount Kisco, New York. And it was in the amount of $3,655.
Right. That's for 4 months of grounds maintenance, if I remember. Right.
Right. And I'm right. So I would hold that one out if we could, just to discuss that offline. And then the third one was a check to the Westchester County Department of Human Resources. And I wasn't sure what our policy is vis-a-vis paying for civil service exams prior to the employment, prior to employing potential employees, whether we, and even for like, I wasn't sure process-wise, because we cut a check for a civil service exam for someone who's not currently an employee at the library. And I'm not sure if
they are. I hired them.
Okay. So, yeah. So then do we have a policy? Like, is there a precedent there to?
We pay for every employee the $40 fee to Westchester County Department of Human Resources for the XD10 application that has to be filed. Every employee, we pay the first application. If they choose to take a subsequent test or something like that, we don't. But because we hire, and it's everybody, we've done that for years.
Okay, so then it would just be the 2 holdouts. The 2 that the third one does not have to be held out then.
Okay, thanks for that, Liz. I appreciate you going over those so carefully. All right, so we need a vote to approve the final June bills. All in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous, Teresa?
Aye. And that's the final June bills left.
I'm sorry, minus, you're correct. Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Minus
So
those 2
amend
bills.
the motion minus Arco and Mount Kisco Contracting. All right, now we move to buildings and grounds and the big COVID.
And before you do
Yes?
that, I would really appreciate, it's taken me.
I'm sorry, Ronnie, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay. It's taken me a few moments to collect myself, if I can say that, after the allegations that were made against me. And I think it's very important that I say something about that. So
Can you wait till after buildings and grounds?
I think it's important for me. I should have said it before we even started finance when this first happened, but it took me a few moments to just organize my thoughts because I like to at least be
Go ahead.
So I just want to say that I have done due diligence since I was elected to the library board in 2017. I've been a responsible trustee adhering to my oath. I've always been concerned about the library's well-being, and all I can do is give you some examples of what I have done for the taxpayers and the residents.
Ronnie, you should submit a letter to the board then, because we don't have time. I appreciate that you want to say something. I really do. But we don't have time for an entire list right now. We've got to go through.
Attacked me in public.
I did not attack you.
Oh, yes.
So let's just.
Claiming that there's people who can't work with me. That is, you have attacked me in public, Pam.
Okay, Ronnie, I know you want to, I do appreciate that you want to address it, but we really do have, let's go through the rest of this and then there'll be time for you to speak at the end because we have a lot of other people waiting. Okay,
Well,
you will speak at the end. All right, building and grounds, COVID.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, Joe, goodbye.
So
Good night,
long.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
COVID, okay. And Bill's here to help.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, we have received the barriers for the public and staff areas, and we can always order more. We haven't done that yet. Marge has worked on placing them and securing the circulation area for when we open to the public. And the staff have barriers in place for their offices, and there are some that we can also order some more. Bill created additional polycarbonate barriers for some of the reference area himself. I have social distancing markers and directional arrows that we're going to put out on the floor to prepare for that. All seating has been removed. We put all the seating out of the public area, and it's been stored in the new construction, which I contacted the fire marshal, and he said we can definitely store furniture in there. We just can't put people in there. And we're going to have additional barriers as necessary. But the children's is not going to open. We're very secure. We have hand sanitizer dispensers for the public. We closed on March 13th, as I said in my report. And the department heads have been working on scheduling so that by July 27th, the goal is to have the salaried staff back in the library working, because right now they're either working from home or sometimes they're at the library. They're all still being paid, no matter where they are. And the goal is to have them working as much as possible to serve the public in the library by the 27th in order so we can open limited hours, very limited hours to the public on August 3rd. There are 18 libraries open right now in the county. Mount Kisco is doing story hour. They have computers. There are a few others that are actually doing outdoor story hour and have computers. We're not going to have computers. We're not going to have seating. It's simply for patrons to come in and out, get their material and go. And there'll be a limited amount of time for patrons and a limited amount of number of patrons. They're going to all be required by Newcastle. Shout out to the law that was passed for the mask, a requirement you must wear a mask, where that gives us backup with the police and backup with the law. So there's no question about people who do not have a mask can be denied entry. We're still going to offer curbside pickup, and that will not stop. And again, as I said, the phases and the plan are basically there to scale back. If something happens, right now this county's in phase 4. If something happens, and we're operating at phase 2 yet, if something happens, we can scale back. That's the whole goal of this. And we're following a plan that, it's not just my plan. But the other libraries who are opening around have also initiated the same plan, and they're working through it, and it's been modified and changed many times as they go through. So that's basically COVID. And Bill might chime in here with some other things, but I know CERC staff is ready. They're just ready.
Ma'am, I think it's just important as we prepare to open to the public, that we make sure our custodial staffs are following the procedures we laid out for them, and that they are completing the daily log and we have it on file in case a case does come up, or if any inspector comes in to look at what we're doing. So I think that's important to double check those things.
And there'll be no bathroom access for the public either.
That's actually one of my questions. Are we allowed not to have bathroom access?
We can, you know, there will be, and there have been, I talked to the other libraries, I've talked to other institutions, there are emergencies that do happen. And they have, and this is the plan. If something happens and someone does have to use the bathroom and it's an emergency, we have many bathrooms to choose from. And luckily they're all no touch. But what we can do is the person can use the bathroom and then it's kept closed until it can be sanitized. So they go in there, they do whatever they have to do, and no one goes in that bathroom until it can be sanitized. And that may be the next day, the night, whatever, but no one accesses that bathroom until it's sanitized. But you can without bathrooms. Everybody's doing it. Every library is opening without bathrooms right now, except for the staff. And staff have to use the bathroom because we're there longer hours. But yes, you can deny bathrooms because also we're limiting the amount of time a patron can be there. We're doing half hour. Some libraries are actually doing 2 hours. Some are doing an hour. It varies from place to place. Some are allowing them to use computers like Mount Kisco. We're referring right now our patrons to Mount Kisco if they have to use a computer, or if they want to do a story time, they can go to Mount Kisco because they're doing them. And in fact, one of our librarians works there, and Tarrytown is also open to the public, and one of our clerks works there. So, you know, every library is different. We're being very restrictive, very restrictive. We're allowing no more than 25, and it's 30 minutes per person. I don't even think we're going to get 25 people who want to come in. It's a personal choice. What we're doing though is we're giving them the choice and the opportunity to have their library back because it is their library. Yeah. But you know, COVID is still out there. It's still active. It's still a problem. And we follow what the governor says too, and what about our county. And you know, Chappaqua was a hot spot. Some people were quarantined, and that may happen. And then we can scale right back. Yeah. Liz, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's good. There's definitely people who would like to be, well, I don't know that there's definitely people, but I can imagine that there is a need to be able to browse books and view content privately. And the only way to truly do that is in person in the physical space. So I think that we will be serving a valuable function when we open, to the extent that we can do it with a framework that is rooted in science. That's my preference. I happen to have recently heard that HVAC engineers are being told that if they keep the humidity levels between 40 and 50%, that seems to crush COVID in terms of air particulate. So I don't know, I'm not going on the record, I'm not a scientist and I'm not an HVAC engineer, but that's what I heard through the grapevine from someone who was trained in that. So I don't know, Bill, what you have heard. And at the library today, it was certainly the air was very crisp and there weren't that many of us in the building. But I don't know if you have a recommendation or if you're going to be monitoring specifically the humidity level for the library and have sort of a shut off temperature at which where we're recirculating too much air to keep it comfortable for the employees, or where the humidity level gets too high. I would certainly welcome those additions into our plan.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a fine line. We're trying to recirculate or actually bring in as much outside air as possible,
right.
At times 100%. when it's humid out, we can't keep up with it. So,
Of course.
so it's a double-edged sword. You reduce the humidity, you reduce the amount of fresh air you're bringing in. But the minimum recommended fresh air by ASHRAE, which is the Association of Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, is 20%, which we in other days had followed during the summer to have 20% fresh air. Right now, we're floating around 50%. And when we can on a very dry day, I'll open it up to 100%. But most of all that has not been automated. It requires me to get on the computer to do it. So we will keep monitoring it. We will keep an eye on it and do whatever we can to make the changes. But I hadn't heard that about the humidity.
The other thing we use is MERV 11 filters. Just so you know, we've used them for years. There was an article about MERV filters, and I know we've always done high quality filters, and MERV 11 is the ones we have used right now. Yeah.
Well, I think it sounds like a good plan, and I think we'll have people who are happy to be able to come browse the stacks for a while, even though they can't sit down. So
can't sit down, can't go to the bathroom, can't use computers, but
that will keep them coming and going.
Yeah, and yes, and you know what? It's a slow, thoughtful approach. That's the whole thing. It's slow, thoughtful. It protects staff and patrons as well. And really, the fact that you know, we have the law behind us with the mask law is wonderful. We've always had patrons who come in and, you know, they don't want to follow the rules one way or another. I mean, there's always someone who doesn't want to get off the computer. There's someone who wants to run around the library. There's someone who wants to make a disturbance, but we have the law behind us, and the police across the street can help us. But I don't think.
How are you announcing to the public? Like, do you have a date you're planning on posting saying you may browse the stacks beginning next date?
Right.
You must wear a mask, and P.S. the children's room is not available.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be next week because we want to, you know, it's going to be slow. We don't expect a herd of people to run in there. Also, remember, we're approaching August, and people have other things to do besides, you know, being in town. Some of them may actually be going away. I don't know where, but they might be going away. But it's a slow approach, and schools are opening September 2nd, that I know. So in between the two, it gives us like a month of transition. But we're going to start next week with social media, signs up on the windows. We just want to get through this week to get the staff in there, get the staff acclimated to everything that's going on back in the swing of things. And we've actually gotten the backlog down with CERC because, as you know, when we opened up, we'd been doing curbside pickup for a long time. And when the reserves came in, when the other libraries started opening up again, the enormous amount of reserves that came in, we were getting 17 to 20 crates a day, plus all the people returning books from other libraries. It was enormous. So that has calmed down, and we've gotten through the backlog. And that's why we wanted to have people get in there, get some fresh materials, get the backlog done, and so give the people back their library. That's the whole thing.
Sam, have you decided what days of the week you'll be open?
It's going to be 3 days a week. And what I'm looking at is, I have 4 hours only each day. It's 11, 12. I think it's 11 to 3 on Tuesday, 11 to 3 on Thursday, and 2 to 6 on Wednesday. The rest of the time, though, we're going to be open for curbside pickup.
Right. I'm just concerned, and you will have it, that you'll have every week a 72-hour break, which will deem the collection safe again.
Yeah. And, you know, we are quarantining. We're still quarantining everything for the 72 hours in that one room, which is.
No, I'm talking about the people that browse on the shelf.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. That's my COVID report.
Thank you. All right, Bill, air handler and HVAC. We're very excited to hear more about that.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Bill, you're muted. You're still muted, Bill. You're muted. Thank
Okay,
you.
now I'm good.
Okay.
All right. First of all, let's talk about the new rooftop unit that is operating in very good condition. The heaters have not been installed yet. We're still waiting for them, but that they are not critical now. They would not be used. So it is being used to supplement the cooling in the periodicals area and in the main library. We have a compressor out. It burned out in the main chiller plant. There are 4 compressors in the system. It is burned out. I submitted a proposal for $12,000 for the replacement. I just like to talk about that one moment. It's very easy to put that out to bid. I could do that in a couple days, but there is also a concern because it's part of a system. There's 4 compressors in the chiller plant, along with all the associated controls. And if you have another company in there, then as we go forward, it could be a lot of finger pointing. In my career, I've had it work fine, and I've had a lot of problems. So it's really up to the board. If you want me to get competing prices or just check the price that we've got, I'd be glad to do it. And
Atlantic Westchester does all of the HVAC maintenance right now, correct?
Yes, they do. We have a 3-year contract with them, actually. But
And
this
so
is not included in the contract, so we have to pay for it. In that bid, we did bid the hourly labor rate, so we know what that is.
Okay.
But,
So your recommendation is to go with this bid for 12,284.15, right, Bill?
That
That's
is
your
correct.
recommendation, but
yes.
so how does everybody feel about that? What do you want us to do, board?
Do we need 2 other bids
I think we
from a
do.
policy standpoint, Ronnie?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I think we need 2 other bids. I mean, even if one of the other bids is slightly cheaper, that you could use the argument that Atlantic Westchester has, has the knowledge, which.
Right, I have experience in writing up those
Right.
justifications.
Yeah.
So yes, not a problem.
But I think we need to we probably need the justification, right, Ronnie?
Yes,
That the bid is at least market.
Okay. Everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So thanks, Bill, for putting that together.
Thank you, Bill.
So we'll wait to hear the other bids.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Now I see we have air handler and HVAC system here, but did you want to talk roof here, Bill, or Pam? Is that going to be in your report and then Bill comes back in?
No, Bill can go
Right,
on about the roof, and also he talked about, cleaning service. Bill, you can go through your whole report.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I just want to bring to the board's attention, kind of out of sight, out of mind. We replaced that section of roof and everything's been good, but it won't be that way for long. And as we prepare to do this capital project, I'd like to get at least a maintenance program on the roof where they will come in and inspect the roof, do housekeeping, clean out the drains, reseal a lot of the flashings. I do have a proposal there for you. I think my recommendation would be to accept just the 1-year proposal with 2 inspections. I believe we are relieved from bidding because of the school district contract with Tremco.
That's correct, Bill. Yes. And that's
Yep.
good. And we had heard from them. They came to one of the gentlemen came to a meeting and talked about that plan. And I think we had said then that we wanted to, thought it was a good idea. So, and
then they also have a new roofing system. And I say new, it's about 10 years old. They've had it. And it's substantially less expensive than a conventional roof replacement. And I just, really, just, I'd like to know if you want me to follow up on that, if you want
I
me.
think that probably has to be part of the strategic plan, but I would say that I know that I'm in favor of that system as the strategic plan committee. I would think that will fall under them ultimately to make that recommendation, unless somebody otherwise has an opinion, but that would be my.
I don't know that we have to wait for the strategic plan for that, but is that the system that they spoke about that was green?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it wouldn't allow for a green roof on top, but.
Yeah.
It's a substance they essentially pour over the existing roof, and it absorbs it, and it creates a new barrier.
Yeah.
Now,
Is it
long
more?
ago? Go ahead, Liz.
The only question I had is it more expensive should you plan to do a second story? Although I don't know that we can where we are anyways, or if we did any sort of reconstruction, if the demolition of that is more expensive than a traditional roof.
I do not believe it would be.
We can't do a second story because of the covenant.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
will.
you'd have to tear it off anyway, so I don't know that it would change your demolition one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the coating on the original roof.
Okay.
My comment was just that who remembers when the Tremco representative came and spoke to us about this? How many months ago was that?
I believe December.
December?
January.
We were still in
January.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I remember where we were sitting. Yes. So January, right? So now, we haven't really, because of everything that's been going on, we haven't revisited it since January because there's been so much going on. So, I mean, I would be in favor of Bill spending a little more time investigating that system.
You know, if we're willing to proceed, I mean, one, we have the money between what we have in the capital account. My recollection is it was like half the price of a new roof. So it was like a $400,000 fix versus $1 million fix. Without as many people in the library and around, it actually is a good time to do a project like the roof because you can use the parking lot for staging. You know, we just did the asbestos report. We know there's not asbestos, so that becomes an issue. And the sooner you do it, the more likelihood you will have that you can do it, because the longer that roof sits and the more water it takes in, the less likely you'll be able to use that process.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm worried that the longer we wait, we're going to have larger problems on our hands and damage inside the building. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're hoping that the construction, you know, it's going to start up again. So, I mean, if everyone's in favor, I think we should tell Bill to go ahead and investigate this a little more.
I would be. I'm in favor of that. I agree with what Lane said, and you know, the longer we wait, the worse things can get. And it is a good time now with the library not being as fully visited.
Okay.
Great. I will begin.
All right, Bill. Thank you. Right, thanks very much.
I've got a couple more things.
Okay.
The next thing I'm going to read right from our report. And I believe that the library is not as clean as it should be. And this is not a reflection on our two current custodians. I believe there's just too much space in the library for them to complete routine and periodic cleaning along with the other responsibilities they have. And now once this construction is complete, we're going to be adding substantially more space for them to clean. My suggestion is that I write a specification for once-a-week service by a cleaning contractor when the library was closed, so it'll probably be on an overnight shift, where they would provide a deep and thorough cleaning of the entire building, and also it would include annual periodic services that are sorely lacking in the library, such as once-a-year carpet extraction, resilient floor refinishing, window cleaning, high dusting, and it would also include what Lane was just talking about, the emergency replacement for the staff custodians. So it's just a thought.
Elaine, go ahead.
I was gonna say, until we're open fully, I think I would wait. But I think once, two things, being open fully and having the construction be finished, I don't know that it makes sense to do much extra dusting until the construction's done.
I think we could get, but I think what Bill, you're recommending that you get the specs drawn up for the completed space so
Yeah.
that you can bid it out in anticipation of us then considering it for down the road, right?
I'm good with that.
So I think that absolutely is very proactive and appreciated.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree. I think it's a good idea too, Bill.
I will write a spec then, present it at the next board meeting and draft, and you can comment on it.
Thank
Great.
you. Bill.
Thanks very much, Bill.
You're welcome.
That's what we have you for. Thanks.
Okay, and I've still got two more things.
Sure.
One's very simple. The toilet seat lids, I think it's a bad idea, but it's been suggested. They're available at about $60 each and probably another $300 to install all 5 of them. So about $600 or $700. People don't like touching toilet seats.
Yeah.
The automatic flushers aren't going to work if you don't put down the seat, and you won't be able to reach the handle to flush manually if you don't put down the lid. So my thought is we don't, but it's been suggested, so Pam asked me about it, so that's where we are with that.
I know staff have suggested it, but the problem is nobody's going to touch it. And we're not going to have the public using the toilets. Nobody's going to touch those. No. And then you have to like reach around and touch. Right now they're automatic flush. Everything. That is the one good thing about this construction. Automatic soap, automatic paper towels, automatic flush, automatic water. So nobody touches anything in the bathroom when they're in there. They just have to take a paper towel and hit the handle when they go out and throw it in the trash. So if we have to do the toilet seat, no one's going to touch it when it's down and no one's going to put it back up. They're not going to touch it. I'm just saying, ooh, no.
I would pass having, they just put them at my office and it's awful.
All right. Yeah, I'm not in favor of them, Bill. Anybody else?
There's a reason why we haven't used them and why they haven't been in use, and COVID would, if we were aware of COVID, we would not be open. And if there was an outbreak in our area, we certainly wouldn't be using the bathrooms. So I'm with Bill and everybody on not incorporating that expense and hassle.
Okay. And then
Thanks for researching.
Okay, the last thing I have is maybe something we could push to the strategic plan, but the parking lot and the circle are in very poor condition, and they'll get a lot worse this winter. I think we really need to plan to redo that parking lot and the circle.
Bill, would you do it before you do the roof? I mean, from the construction aspect, if you're going to have to use the parking lot to stage the roof, the work for the roof, would you want to have a brand new parking lot only then to have construction equipment on it?
Well, it depends how quick. If we do the roof this winter, or if we wait till the spring to get the roof done, I don't know. That parking lot is in bad shape. If anybody's looked at it, and once we get winter, I mean, we can keep patching chuck holes and other things. We can keep it going for another year. So maybe it is a better idea to do the roof first, and then maybe the strategic plan may want to look at some different types, different designs for parking lot. Maybe since we may not be able to do a green roof, maybe you want to look at pervious pavement so the rainwater drains down through the parking spaces into the ground. Maybe you'll want to put some cobblestone curbs rather than the blacktop curbs. So maybe if we kept it going and then you put it as part of the strategic plan might work.
So that's certainly an option. Another option could be to draw up a spec, like you get an,
Yes.
You do that, Bill, an architect does that. But that would, of course, be for the current driveway.
Yeah, it would be a civil engineer or an architect. I'd have to research. I know a few smaller firms.
I mean, just a repaving would obviously be the least expensive option. And there is something to be said about doing it again while you don't have the same demand on your parking.
Yes.
I mean, definitely there is something about doing it sooner. I'm just curious. I didn't know if the roofing equipment and the things they would need would mess up a brand new parking lot. If it's indifferent, then doing it while there's less traffic at the library also has.
No, we write into their contract that they're responsible. So if they don't protect it and they damage it, they've got to repair it. But
Well, the other factor would be to look at safety. Like, do we have potholes in the wrong places that are really endangering the public, which would push up the timeline on that, as opposed to the roof, which, you know, obviously is not a danger to anyone. It's a steel undercage, so it's not going to collapse in.
yeah. Yeah, but you know, I just want to pick up on something that Lane mentioned. It's not, yes, repaving, putting a new topping on is what we do, but because of the elevation of the current parking lot, it's obviously been paved before. Our curbs in most places, or in a lot of places, especially on the grass, are only 2 inches high, and usually you put between 2.5 and 4 inches. So we will need to mill off the pavement unless we change the curb. So that's why I suggested maybe we look at some different options with the strategic plan. But I can certainly get a civil engineer and architect, give them my ideas, have them not do any detailed drawing, but sketch up some suggestions and some scenarios for the board to look at.
The only comment I want to make is that we haven't really talked about the general construction update yet, but we did get the figure that once the exterior and roof work begins, it's going to take 80 days to complete. So I don't know if that is a piece of data that helps you, Lane. Like, they're going to be working on the outside of this building on the roof for 80 days. And Bill, I don't know if this matters, but it's just one more piece of data. We don't know when they're starting.
Yeah, you can't asphalt in January generally, so
yeah,
you either need to do it now or you need to do it next spring, probably by like next April.
Yeah,
right.
By Thanksgiving, the plant's shut down.
Yeah, and roof work also really depends on weather to some extent.
Yeah.
How much rain you have. So
Rain or snow.
yeah, exactly.
So then what's the consensus that we ask Bill to talk to a civil engineer or architect on our behalf and look at what it might take to repair, fix, put in a new parking lot driveway as it exists, or put it off because maybe there's a completely new design in the future?
Yeah, I don't know if we do a new design, but what I was talking about is maybe just make it a little more attractive, maybe new cobblestone curbs. And I think the pervious pavement is a good selling point with the public.
Right, right. It's good for the environment and everything. So I know, I'm torn. I, of course, like the idea of the pervious pavement and doing something a little bit different that's better for the area. But I am also concerned, like you said, Liz, that our parking lot is a mess. I'm worried about the curbs as they exist now, right? It's dangerous. It's hard to maneuver, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. So I don't know, maybe we should revisit this.
Well, I'll look at it tomorrow. I'll make some phone calls.
Okay.
And we'll take it from there.
All right, is that all right with everyone? Yes? Okay.
Is a priority.
Yes.
Okay.
If
Okay.
If
All
it's
right, Bill.
acceptable, I can email the board before the next meeting, let you know what I found out.
I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Good. All right, so.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks very much. So next we're going to move on to Pam's report.
Okay,
What do you have for us?
I have a few things. One is I investigated something called the Employee Assistance Program. We don't have one right now, but I think it would be useful and it would benefit all staff, even if they have health insurance with us or not. An employee assistance program helps with counseling, with stress. And I think, you know, coming back from COVID, coming back from their own situations, getting back into the workforce, an employee assistance program is very valuable for each on an individual basis. So I had our benefits person who's just started helping me investigate some, and we did have one that we looked at through our current dental carrier, which is interesting because they do all different kinds of insurance. But the cost for all the staff to participate unlimited amount of counseling, whether it's stress, whether it's not only just with COVID, but if it's grief counseling, addiction, suicide, all different issues, financial counseling, for the entire staff of 61 employees for the year, $1,260.
Really?
That's it. $1,260 for the entire staff for the year.
Pam, I think it's a great idea. I know in White Plains Schools, when I worked there, they had an employee assistance program for many, you know, as long as I can remember, and it was a really good thing for people, and I would be enthusiastically supporting this. I think we should go on it immediately.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, even beyond COVID, it's going to benefit the employees. And here's the thing, it's for all staff. They don't have to be full-time, they can be part-time, they can be the pages. And I think for all the staff, for $1,260, it's worthwhile. So I'm gonna go do that. I don't need your approval, I just wanted to let you know because it's under the threshold where I can purchase something. So I thought that would be a very good idea.
Yeah, that's great.
We have some resignations for approval by the board. Maggie Lee, student page, effective March 20th, 2020. She didn't come back after COVID. Lori Allen, our part-time benefits assistant, was effective March 21st, 2020. Dylan Marcus, student page, effective June 30th, 2020. Lauren Fisher, student page, effective June 30th, 2020. They're going to college, they graduated. And Martha Alcott, our assistant director, will be retiring effective October 2nd, 2020. She has been there over 30 some odd years.
Effective October 5th, last day, October 2nd.
Well, yeah, actually, the thing is her working day is October 2nd.
Yes.
Right. And so it's working day, October 2nd. Retirement is the 5th. It's over the weekend.
Yep.
And that's civil service specific. So
yes.
So we have those resignations. And then we have the appointment where I am requesting the board to provisionally because of civil service.
Well, first we have to do a motion to resolution to accept those resignations.
Okay.
On to the other.
Okay, you want to make a motion, Ronnie?
Sure. I move that we accept the resignations of Maggie Lee, Lori Allen, Dylan Marcus, Lauren Fisher, Martha Alcott for the reasons as specified in the report here, unless you want me to read everything.
No, I think that's good. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thanks, Lane. All in favor?
What happens if we don't? What happens if we don't approve?
Yeah,
they're gone anyway.
Nothing. No,
they're
nothing
not coming
happens.
back.
Right. Nothing. So are you in favor,
Well,
Lane?
I guess it would mean that we potentially have to continue paying benefits to those people if we haven't officially accepted their resignations. Then they could potentially seek re-employment from us, I guess, is the answer.
No, because they've actually we filed civil service paperwork that they're gone. Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
I approve.
So is that our process or?
Thank you.
That's civil service process. They're gone.
No, but is the accepting of the resignations our process, our internal process, or like, I'm just wondering if we could clean up our process and not have that be part of our meeting moving forward, the
Well,
resignations.
have to, it's part of the state law, I forget, I'll
Right.
set the number,
Okay.
to
Right.
New York State
Yeah.
Education Law subsection 226,
So, yeah.
personnel, we have
I
to
think it does
appoint
have
and
to do
accept
with acknowledging the dates for the purpose of benefits.
that. Right, and we have to do that.
All right, so then appointments, I'm requesting the board to provisionally appoint Kimberly Goebel to the position of part-time benefits assistant at an hourly rate of $30. The position is not to exceed 17 hours per week, and as per civil service regulations, Ms. Goebel must preserve a probationary period of 52 weeks and take and successfully pass the benefits assistant test when it is offered by Westchester County.
So since you did not get her from the civil service list for a benefits assistant, correct?
Everybody said no.
Okay, so since we don't know that she would, we didn't get her from the benefits assistant list, can you provide her credentials in human resources or benefits work? Can you give us?
Well, here's the thing. It's not the purview of the board for a part-time clerical position to usually see the candidate's credentials only for the director or a higher level, such as the assistant director or department head. Would the board then look at the credentials? Of course.
Okay, but we are being asked to approve this person, and we have a right to know what the credentials are. I don't understand why they're not being provided.
Kim, can you just give us a little, like, who she worked for before and how long she's been doing this type of work? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
Right. First of all, she has done this type of work. Not only she works with scattered books, she's also worked with a payroll company. She's proficient in hiring people. And that's basically the position, is hiring, getting the paperwork done, providing the I-9s, providing benefits if they're applicable, and reporting to the state.
So she worked with a payroll company. What is
She's
that?
worked part-time with a payroll company, doing payroll for individuals, processing the payroll, processing their deductions.
Okay, that's all I asked for, what her credentials were.
So it's not really pertinent to the board to do this. I just want you to know.
It is.
For the record,
pertinent.
for the record.
For the record, if we're being asked to appoint someone and vote on it, then we have a right to know what their qualifications are. We do.
All right, do we have a motion on the table we have an appointment, right? Resolution to appoint retroactively? Kim
Well,
Goebel.
nobody appointed yet, so.
Right.
So is it a motion or resolution? I don't know which.
Motion.
I don't know. All right.
I motion that we retroactively appoint Kimberly Goebel as position as part-time benefit assistant at a rate of $30 an hour, not to exceed 17 hours per week.
I second it. All in favor? Okay, unanimous, Teresa. Thank you.
Pam,
And yeah, me, Pam, or that?
I didn't interrupt, but I don't feel we're really completed the resignations, because Martha Alcott should really be a resignation for the purpose of retirement. Which I think
Yeah, okay.
separated out.
But it's
All right, that makes
Civil
sense.
service. Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right,
you
so
might want to separate that.
Okay, should we?
All right, and we need,
Yeah.
I think we need a second on that also.
I'll make a new motion to accept the resignation of Martha Alcott, Assistant Director, resigning for the purpose of retirement, effective October 5th, 2020. Okay? And
I
then-
second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. I'd like to comment that Martha was the first face I ever saw at the Chappaqua Library 22 years ago or so. And while we all knew retirement was coming, as we knew Pam's retirement was going to be coming because of their long service, I'm going to miss Martha a lot. And I don't know. The library's going to seem a little different. So good luck, Martha.
Yeah.
Enjoy retirement. You deserve it.
She's out there listening, so yeah.
Right, right.
Martha,
So,
enjoy your retirement, and we will miss you.
yeah. I just have a brief president's report because I didn't know where to put a couple of these things. One is my construction update, because since Pam is leaving and we don't have an interim now, we're just trying to make sure certain things don't fall in the cracks. So I spoke to John Chow. He was wonderful. And Vicky Tip was great. They answered me right away. And so we all got the email with the proposal about the completion duration in calendar days for the construction. And the last we heard that the contract was going to the lawyers. So the update is we've signed the contract. 2 out of 3 parties have signed the contract. We're just waiting for the bond company to sign. And there shouldn't be an issue with that. It's just timing because they're the people who picked the contractor. So we assume they're going to be signing quickly. And as soon as that contract is signed, the district is going to have a construction meeting. And things hopefully should get moving. I mean, just so the public knows, because they haven't, I don't think that they've seen this. The library has a punch list with a lot of items on it, right? I sent the punch list to all of us, and it should take 50 calendar days to complete everything on the punch list. And the library still has exterior and roof work to be done, and that work should take 80 days from commencement. So we don't have a start date. We're hoping as soon as possible. But within 80 days, everything should be complete. So I hope that's good news for everyone. It's good news for us. We're excited, right?
Yes.
I would like to tell my fellow board members that I did conduct an exit interview with Pam Thornton because it was something that was necessary. I invited Erica Gottesman to join me for that exit interview because she's chair of the search committee and thought that any information that Pam could impart would be useful to the search committee. So now I'm going to ask Martha Alcott, as one of her, hopefully not last duties, to give us a brief report on the tech audit that we asked for. I want to thank Lane, and we were thinking that, you know, with COVID and nobody in the library and we're going to be starting up again, we just wanted to get a handle on where all our equipment was, where we might have packed it away for construction, where it's hiding, where it's not, how old the equipment is, and so we can budget for the future what we might need to replace. So Martha, are you there? Can you join us and talk a little bit about the tech audit report that you sent us?
I don't see her. I have to bring her in if I see her. Martha, raise your hand if you're there.
I can see her.
Oh, okay. Let me get her. Hang on. I got to bring her in. Oh, there she is. Allow me to talk. Martha, you can talk. You're muted, but you can talk.
Hey, Martha, I asked, I guess you might have heard, right? That if you could give us a little information on the tech audit.
Yes, absolutely. Although this is, it's not that exciting, but it was a good exercise and it's already bearing fruit. So I'll tell you about that later. So it turns out we have 71 computers plus various peripherals in the library in various places. WLS computers are currently in use by staff. They're not being updated. I found out today that you cannot read PDFs on these computers.
Is Martha still talking?
Martha, did you leave?
We've lost audio.
Okay.
Oh. Lost you, Martha.
Martha probably opened a document on her screen.
She might have. Martha, we lost you. Oh, technology. Martha.
Her signal
Given the
was weak
time,
at the beginning. Yeah, should we move on? How about we want to work with Martha to correct?
Well, she can still talk. I mean, she when she comes back,
Right.
she'll be in there. So
But Martha, can you restart or no? No.
she might have to relog.
Okay.
I'll try to do something else.
All right. So Ronnie, while we're waiting for Martha, do you want to go to your community members seeking to join you for racial justice report?
Sure, I'm happy to do that, Pam. In June, the board was contacted by a group of community members, quote, seeking to join the library for racial justice, unquote, in a conversation about Black Lives Matter. They shared links from the American Libraries Association on the topic, which included staff development and numerous program ideas. The board president asked me to be a liaison to the group and reach out to them. I spoke to Monica Gallego, the representative of the group, and she shared the group's suggestions, which were, one, display more diverse authors not limited to Black History Month, Martin Luther King Day, or other ethnic or racial celebrations. And they would like to see this on a regular basis. 2, storytime hours should include age-appropriate books with mixed race characters and have conversations about the diversity in the books. This would be good for caretakers and parents in attendance as well as the children. 3, movies for adults and children about systemic racism and that theme. 4, workshops for community and parents about systemic racism, microaggression, etc. 5, staff professional development on racial relations for the entire library staff. And then she later contacted me with the name of someone who could do staff development on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I brought this information back to the board, and the board president asked me to share it with the library staff members. I then relayed the information to the director, assistant director, program coordinator, head of children's department, and teen librarian.
Oh.
And that
Thanks very much, Ronnie.
You're welcome.
All right.
I would just add that having attended many of those children's programs, the book selection, at least in the years that I was attending those programs, and Teresa can vouch for and Mercy and everybody who has since retired, they could all vouch for my attendance there. It was a very diverse book selection. I never felt like we didn't have really nice imagery in the children's room, but I always welcome the opportunity to I'm sure the staff does not mind hearing that request. I just don't want anyone to think that because we're hearing a request from the public for something, for any of these things at that rate, that we aren't already fulfilling that mission.
Liz, that's a really good point. And I do want to say that, especially having experience as a librarian myself, you know, you can put out displays of books and you can have this diverse display, and what people do is they take them, and if you're the next person that comes in and doesn't see them, it's not because they weren't there at that time. So I know that our staff, if I could say this, when I shared this, they came back with, you know, they understood, they know that, you know, I know they're doing this, and they have wonderful programs and a lot of good ideas of things that they've already started doing. I already saw, Pam, you shared a list of some of the activities, and I know that Carol Durst did a film discussion of Black Lives, something to that effect, and that was something that, you know, was organic from our library. So I think that, you know, it was appreciated that they were concerned and wanted to share some things, and we always welcome input from the community, and the staff was very gracious in their acceptance of the what I shared with them. So thank you, Liz, for saying that too.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. So is Martha back online or no? Pam, you're muted too.
She's here. I'm trying to get her in. Martha, you're muted, but you're
Okay.
there. I see you. Can you talk?
Martha, unmute yourself. Oh, there we
There
go.
she is. Martha? Martha, we lost you at PDF. Whatever the PDF was, that's all the last word I heard.
Maybe maybe it's her computer speaker.
Martha, are you there? Martha, I see.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, okay. I took out my headphones. Okay.
Okay. This is good. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, we have 71 computers plus various peripherals in the library. 15 WLS computers are currently being used by staff. And I know Pam has been trying to get us away from the WLS computers because they're just not managed very well. And the ones we have now are not being updated and we can't read PDFs on them. So,
And also, we just got a report about Westchester Library System IT department, the worst department, and it was an audit that was done, and Martha can verify this. It was an 85-page report. They got about basically zeros.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. We have to use their VDI system, which you have to log into about 8 times every morning when you sign on to your computer. It's really annoying and it keeps crashing. But anyway, we do have 11 public computers, which are desktops, which are managed by TNSC. We have 26 desktops owned by Chappaqua. 8 are currently in use by staff. Some have Evergreen on them. 2 are brand new desktops that have not been swapped out with WLS computers yet. We kind of got stalled in that process. And, while we were moving during the construction, 9 are in storage because of construction, and 7 laptops haven't been recycled. They're old. They probably should just be tossed out. We have 4 laptops, 3 brand new HP ProBooks with Evergreen, which allows staff to distance either on site or off site, or use them off site, which has worked out really well. We're using one of the study rooms as an office for one of our reference librarians, and that seems to be working very well. We have 2 very old laptops. Joan Kuhn uses one for Skype, and we have one at the reference desk for Envisionware management. We have 7 iPads, mostly in storage. The children's room used to use these. We have 4 iMacs, which are very old. We should probably consider getting rid of these as well. We have 4 Chromebooks, one on loan from WLS for Census 2020. If anybody, when people come into the library, if they want to do that. And we have 3 old ones for teen coding programs. So this has just been a very useful exercise. Teresa Buetti has already taken a fairly newish computer in storage and swapped it out for something that it was so old I couldn't believe it was still working. So yeah, that's about it on that. But,
can I just ask that that we take out names of individual employees on this report when we next view it, and that we just either use titles or generic locations?
Oh, sure. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I can do that tomorrow.
again, something I think that might be important for the strategic plan is the recognition of old systems versus new systems ultimately, and where maybe we need to be thinking future-wise in terms of technology.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge, yeah, that's a huge project, and we need to look at that very carefully.
I'm glad that while this took effort on everyone's part, that it is already bearing fruit. Thank you, Martha, for taking care of this. Were there any general recommendations from you or the staff now that you've put this together?
The new laptops seem to be really nice. People really seem to like them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes people more mobile. I would really like to get away from WLS somehow. That's problematic. I don't know. I don't know how we move forward with that.
Okay.
I don't know if Pam has any thoughts about that.
Well, we did as much as we could, and it's been very cost effective and also productive because the company we contract with has been so responsive to every need that we have. We are truly a customer, not, a victim. There's more discussion with WLS. I mean, the fewer computers we can get through them, the better. But the problem is, no matter what we do, we pay $73,000 a year. We can have like 3 computers, we'd still pay $73,000 a year because they base their pricing model on everything else but the computers that they provide. Down the road, that's a whole other story, though.
Right. Martha, would your report was great because it was a summary of computers. Can you also give us a copy of that?
Oh, sure.
Right, because that's helpful instead of us going through. I mean, obviously we'll look at everything, and we have, but that was really nice. So I didn't have to keep counting them myself.
Right, now I know.
Okay. So I appreciate that. So now we have a starting point, whether it's a combination of the strategic planning committee, or this is now ready for the incoming director, or for the staff to know where everything is. If we can keep updating this, either as computers die or, you do recycle some. So who's going to be in charge? Who's the keeper of this list, Martha?
Well, a lot of us have access to it, so I can figure out who to turn it over to oversee it. But Teresa,
okay, so,
Marge,
so it's more like a shared Google Doc.
Yeah, it's a Google Doc. Yes.
Oh, okay, so then that might be fine. So as long as everybody has access, but everybody has to be responsible to keep it up to date. So.
Right. I will make sure.
Probably falls in day-to-day operations.
Right. I mean, I'll make sure somebody takes over my part of it, the reference part of it. That might be Rebecca Rogan.
Okay.
All right. I'll just let everybody else know that they need to keep it up as well.
That'd be great. And then, you or the new director, depends who's actually here, come to the board with recommendations on what kind of equipment you think you might need. And at least we have this now, so we see what you have.
Okay, that's great.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, before we move on to public comments and questions, Ronnie, did you want to make a statement?
Yeah, I do. The main role of the library board trustee is financial oversight and to exercise fiduciary responsibility for the use of public and private funds, and of course to oversee and evaluate the director. And when I became a board member, I read the handbook from New York State from cover to cover, and the important things in that one of the most important things I pulled from that was to be an active and informed library board member and to ask questions of the director, to study issues and to ask questions to understand. And I asked a lot of questions and I discovered a lot of things. Library board members don't have really official training. We had no mentorship. Fortunately, I have a lot of experience in libraries and have been a member of the American Library Association my entire library career. I'm a lifetime member. And I noticed things and I asked a lot of questions, probably more questions that have not been asked before. And for example, I'm going to give you some very important examples of things that I noticed and that things that have had to have changed. The first thing was how low our salaries were, because the director at one of my early board meetings said she was having trouble finding staff members and people didn't want to come here. And I spoke up about how salaries should be better for librarians, and I'm happy to say that staff salaries have improved since I've been on the board. Then I was on the benefits committee, and sick day things got changed for the benefit of the staff. And as time went on, and right around before I became the financial officer, I always was a little concerned about why we had book signings that people couldn't come to unless they bought a book, because that wasn't what a program was. So I started to ask a lot of questions, and I asked how these were being financed, and I looked at the bills and I looked at things, and it turned out that we were having these book signings that in a year cost of $2,824. And that was library funds used for bookstores and book companies to make profit, and the library got no profit out of that. And I brought that up at board meetings and got a lot of pushback on that. But fortunately, the director understood that I was right, and now the Friends have taken that over. So library funds are not being used to finance private bookstores and businesses. And then my first year, there was no evaluation of the director. And according to the handbook and everything that we know about our responsibility of being library trustees, is to evaluate the director. So the second year, I asked the board president, and we had this form that was not the best form. So I brought up the point that we should have a really effective director evaluation process. And again, I got pushback, and some board members said, well, we evaluate the director at every board meeting, and what's the point of having a director evaluation? But I persevered, and fortunately we have come up with a viable evaluation process. And then I became the finance officer a year ago, and I started doing due diligence and doing that job and looking at the finances. I met with our accountant and looked over the procedures. And then I started looking at our bills every month. No board member had ever gone in other than signing the bills to really look at them closely. And there were things that didn't seem right to me. So I did my own research and found out that our library was not in compliance with a New York State tax law, that many libraries about 3 or 4 years prior had been audited by state comptroller, and that were found to be not in compliance, and we were not in compliance. And this is something that surprised me, that no other board members and that even our administration was not aware of this state law. And it also never made sense to me why we hired people and the director would just tell us that she was hiring people and the board never appointed them. So I brought up in various ways that we were not in compliance with that New York State personnel law. And last year, because of this, we had to retroactively appoint every staff member who had been hired in the past, I don't know how many years. So I'm proud to say that because I have asked a lot of questions, and sometimes it's not easy for people to accept that you want to ask questions, but that is what I was elected to do by the people in this community. My main job is to oversee taxpayer dollars and make sure they are spent properly. And I am proud to say that I have done that. And if some people find it hard to work with someone who asks questions, then I'm sorry to say that has to be their problem, because whatever I have done now, we are in the process of we haven't officially adopted the policy yet, but I've worked with Lane on the claims audit policy, on a petty cash policy. We're now following general municipal law. Another thing, when I first came on this board, we would just get one bid for something, and then I would say, but we have to have 2 bids. And that wasn't the custom of this board, and this the library administration should provide that. And now it's something that must be done. And so this is what I'm very proud of. I also want to say that I brought up videotaping our meetings. I'm really happy that, you know, the good side effect of COVID is now our meetings are being broadcast to the public via Zoom. But the board, since I came on this board, has been resistant to videotape. Even some of the most outspoken board members have not been in favor of it, and they keep postponing voting on it. And I also want to say that every year that I've been on this board, I have accompanied the director of our library to the Chappaqua School District board meetings where our budget was presented. No other board member has done that. And I have publicly, and in fact, you may have seen it even this year even on a Zoom meeting this year, and praised her for the work that she has done. So I'm just flummoxed by the comments and the things that the board president has said about me. And again, I am an equal member of this board. Every single board member has a voice, and to be told that I can't be worked with is really, I have every right to be part of this board and to be involved in director selections and everything. So these are just some of the accomplishments, and I'm most proud of the fact that I have gotten this board to comply with state law, which it hadn't been in the past. And the book signings that we had, we turned people away because they didn't pay to buy a book. And that's not what a public library is about.
Thank you, Ronnie. How many years have you served on the board?
I was elected in 2017, and this I'm going into my 4th year. I'm the vice president of the board now.
Thank you.
I care very much about this library and this board and my role in the community. And I'm humbled by the fact that I was elected and with a very good margin of votes, because libraries have been my life's work. And I'm sorry that there are people who just couldn't work with me, but sometimes it's hard to be not the only expert in the room anymore.
Thank you, Ronnie. So now I'm going to open the meeting up to public comments and questions. I do know that there is a Zoom question from the staff. I don't know, is Rebecca here or Martha?
If they raise their hand, I can allow them to speak, because there's a lot of people watching. Oh, hey, okay, there they are.
I don't know who wants to speak to this, Rebecca or Martha?
I'll let Rebecca in. Oh, Rebecca, okay, go Rebecca. You're muted, but you can speak. And then we'll do Martha.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Rebecca. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so as you know, we've been using Zoom for many library programs recently for obvious reasons. So the way it works is every department is using Zoom, the children's department, the YA department, the adult department. We have a calendar where we schedule all our Zoom meetings so that we don't clash. And increasingly, we do have to navigate around each other so that because although we have a Zoom system, which we pay for a professional Zoom system, but still we can only have one session running at a time. So because it's getting very backed up, I just wondered if the board would consider maybe discussing having your own Zoom system just for the smaller board meetings, just so that we don't all have to navigate around each other. So I just wondered if you could think about that. I think it costs about $15 a month.
Yeah.
For the larger webinars, we could still use our system where the public have to be involved because that is more expensive. But I just wanted to throw that out as an idea that you might consider discussing.
Rebecca, do you think that the staff is having difficulty managing on one Zoom system? It sounds like, you know, you talked about navigating it and scheduling it because you can only have one session at a time.
It can get a little tight. And now both Joan, but the adult department and the YA department are starting to schedule series on Zoom, which is a wonderful thing. We have a film series, we have an art series, and children's, of course, have many things going on all the time. It can get a little tight. So yeah, we make it work because we do have this one calendar and we make sure that we don't clash, but it is a little tight.
I want to say something. I think it would be a good, I have a Zoom subscription. I think it's really great. I think that it would be good if the board had their own Zoom subscription. It's $15 a month. It's definitely worth it. And I would even suggest that maybe each department in the library have their own, so that way the children's, if they want to do something, and would that help, Rebecca, do you think?
That would certainly make our lives easier, yes.
We pay
Well,
$54 a month for this one.
I think we can just speak to what we need as a board, and then they can figure out what they need in their day-to-day work, right?
If there was simply a second subscription, whether we're using it on we're really only using it once a month for the board.
Well, maybe not. Maybe we need it for other things.
Isn't the committee going to be, I would think that the committee is going to get together.
Right.
Yeah, the search committee.
Would simply a second subscription for the library as a whole be sufficient?
It would help. The thing about the board having a separate Zoom account of their own is that it takes you out of our scheduling calendar. So that means that the scheduling is just for the staff and library programs and library meetings, so that we don't have to navigate around, our own scheduling calendar. That makes sense.
Maybe, as Lane is suggesting, an additional Zoom account, but it could be used by all non-staff. So it could be used by the board, the search committee, and the strategic planning committee if they need it.
That would be great.
And hopefully that's enough. And then the staff will just have to come back if what they have is not enough, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
How does the board feel about approving an additional Zoom account?
Well,
I believe it comes out of the discretionary, this sort of thing would come out of the director's discretionary fund
Rebecca,
for
I'll talk to you about it
us.
this week. I can do it because it's under a threshold. So.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not a
Great.
Okay. All right. So yeah, go ahead and do it. That would be great.
We wanted to have one for each department. We
Right.
don't have to vote on that either.
Right.
Oh, there's several
Right.
people want to speak.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Right.
I'll bring the next
Are there
person.
any public comments?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Laura, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Laura.
Hi, guys. This was actually really interesting to listen to all of this, and it's good to kind of see everyone all together. And I just wanted to kind of chime in just quickly on the book events, because honestly, we've kind of missed working with the library on that front. And, you know, I felt like we were going in kind of a positive direction. I was getting some amazing feedback from authors and things like that. But if it does help to, you know, to clarify at all, since I do totally understand both sides of the issue, you know, the bigger signings, we would make a small profit, but would typically bring 8 to 10 staff people ourselves and stay there for an average of 10 hours, that type of thing. You know, for the Clinton signings, that type of thing. So there was certainly no windfall at all, because we really partnered to try to help run the event as well. And some of the smaller events, I'd say 90% of them, we actually take a loss on every one. Just to, you know, kind of give you the broad picture of, you know, us being the vendor for the library, that there's a handful of kind of bigger ticket things, but a whole lot of small ones where I honestly take a bath on every single one. And, you know, but we want to support the library, and that's something I've been excited about. I want to be excited about again. I'd love to talk about how, you know, we can all make that happen together, that type of thing. Because like I said, I was getting, you know, a lot of positive feedback from some big publicists, things like that. Wow, the library is doing these, you know, great things. And, you know, I'm not sure what direction that can take, but I guess I'm just saying I'm up for it. And just to, you know, just give a little clarity in terms of what actually happened at the signing, in terms of the kind of lack of profit on almost all of them. So we kind of hold out for the bigger ones a bit.
Laura,
Laura,
aside
thanks
from
so much.
setting policy, we don't really have any say in the programming, though, just so you know.
Oh, I understand. I just wanted to jump in since it's my first time on one of these.
And Laura, just to be
Thanks for
clear,
coming.
it's whether you made profit or not is not the issue. The library should not be spending library funds for something that is technically for profit outside the library. That's the issue. And the Friends have taken them over, which is perfect because they will pay for that. And I am not speaking, since the board doesn't do policy, I will just say, like, personally, I think it's great that the library has these wonderful programs, and these, when they are programs. And so that's to clarify what I was talking about, if that's what you're referencing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're clear on that, Laura. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just, you know, playing a little bit of catch up on some of the things, because as the vendor, we sort of have to be at all of the things, but, and we want to be at all of the things, but we don't have a say in the things, and a lot of the things are a loss. So I don't know how that can be rectified, or
that's,
you know, something for the Friends. You know, I love the Friends.
Right.
That's all great.
Right. You could deal with the Friends now. But thank you so much, Laura.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks very much, Laura. We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next is Robin Stanich, one of our staff members. Robin, unmute yourself, you're in.
Okay, hi.
Hi, Robin,
everybody.
welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome, Robin.
Thank you so much. I was lucky enough to be hired at Chappaqua Library almost a year ago. So I wanted to put my 2 cents in. I was greeted by nothing but kindness from everybody, from Pam to Martha to the entire staff. And I'm very grateful for that. But I also wanted to mention that Ronnie went out of her way to introduce herself to me one day and treated me with much kindness. And when my brother died, Ronnie sent me a very sentimental email expressing her condolences. So I think that everybody has their own ways of expressing things, their own views, but what it boils down to, everybody is trying to do their best for the library, even though you might not agree. And I just want to tell you how grateful I am for all of your kindness, every single one of you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Robin. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin.
All right. Next is there anybody else? I think that was it for public. Oh, wait, who's that? Oh, Lee. Oh, Lee. Okay. Lee Hess. Allow. Okay. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Leah. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, guys. Director Pam.
Hey.
I want to say how sorry I am to hear that you're leaving the library.
Oh, thank you, Leah.
It's hit me in my heart in a way that words are having difficulty expressing. So in case I don't get to see you again before, well, I probably won't because August 4th is coming up soon. I wanted the opportunity to share that with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to follow up that comment with my concern that I know has been echoed back to me all across town, that it's concerning and very upsetting to hear that our director and our assistant director have both been chosen to leave the library within a month of each other. And I think as a community, we're all starting to understand why. How going forward?
COVID?
No, that's not what I meant. But if you think it's funny, go with it, right? What is going to be different for an interim director or a new director and assistant director so that they also don't feel so uncomfortable in their workplace that they choose to leave also?
There's many reasons for retirement. So I'm just simply pointing out that I know you might be jumping to one conclusion, someone else might jump to another, and it's not our job to jump to any conclusions, but to staff the library with the most competent, capable people possible.
Well, that sounds kind of like a non-answer, but I'll accept that. Does anybody else have something that feels more substantial? Because, you know, we've lost two treasures of our community, and our library is a central part of my family's life here. And I'm concerned that when you lose your top two people, there's often a trickle-down effect. I don't want my librarians going anywhere. They are special people that are like family to my family. So how do we get our library back on track and attract the high caliber people that we have to keep the library going and to, you know, get back to hitting our stride again?
Leah,
these are important questions, Leah, and things that we have thought about and we're going to work towards improving. I think what Liz is trying to say, that not everything is as it seems, but we do appreciate your comments, and feel free to follow up with us some more so that we can hopefully try to set your mind at ease. But, you know, with setting up the new search committee and reevaluating everything, we hope to move forward in a positive way.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
My notes isn't. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't see anybody else raising their hand to talk.
No? All right.
Nope, I don't think
So
so.
can I
Nope.
have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:31 tonight?
I would happily. I'll second that.
All right, Lane moved, Liz seconded. All in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye. It's unanimous, Teresa. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Great, thank you.
Stay
Pam.
safe.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you,
all. Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. My last meeting.
Pam,
Yes,
Let me-
Dick.
let me know when the checks are ready this week. I'll come over.
I will.
Appreciate
I'll be here for one more week after this. So yes,
Oh, God.
I know. Hey, Teresa.
Hey, Pam. Think
I
we could
know.
have a lunch before
I
you
think
go?
we should. We should. Yeah. I'll email you. We'll figure out something.
Okie doke. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Mwah
everybody.
to you too.
Take care. Have a good evening.
Bye.